Hey, and welcome back to the Aliens Love Earth podcast, where we heal the Earth with art. For today's episode, I'm joined by a very special person. He's a pianist, a composer, and a producer whose work blends ambient, electronic, and instrumental worlds into something that feels both cosmic and deeply human at the same time. His debut EP, The Clarity of Space, takes us through soundscapes of healing, gratitude, and the vastness of nature. Well, that sounded like the perfect guest to us. So, therefore, please welcome to the show, Juan Arreche. Yeah, Juan, welcome. It's really nice to have you on from the other side of the world. How is it going?
Going very well over here. Good morning over here from Texas. It's 11:04 a.m. over here, and I know it's your
Nice.
evening right now.
Yeah, we're quite opposite time zones, I would say, but it's really nice to still see it work. So, yeah, I'm really excited. We ran into your music and we saw a lot of nature imagery, uh, and we heard music and we thought like this is something we have to dive deeper in because obviously we're about that, where those two intertwine a bit. And I have a whole lot of questions about like what you're doing now, how you got to that point, your role and connection with nature, both in your personal life and your music. But before we dive into all that, I'm curious how you would actually describe what you do creatively yourself.
Yeah, uh, that's a really good question because I started with like before this even happened, like starting the EP or anything or any kind of lessons with my mentor. I would just kind of free flow on the piano and create melodies, like melodic ideas and whatnot. So sitting there and being in front of the keyboard and experimenting with like the piano
Mm.
and learning the modes from my mentor, learning music production. So starting that up with the creative space and learning how to set up a studio. Like I visited him last year. Oh, here's a cat.
Oh,
I visited him
I
last
just
year
seen it
in
too.
the summer. Yeah, yeah. And so for me, I started as like just working with piano, and then the roles of music artist and music producer came in after I started producing and using Ableton with my
Mm.
learning from my mentor and learning, hey, how do I set up a studio? So actually going to visit
Quite a big
him last
question.
summer. Yes, especially a home studio. And
Yeah.
um, it greatly inspired me to go see him and be able to like, oh, you can have a keyboard and a huge screen and you can have an audio workstation and you can
Mm.
take care of you can have so much at your disposal as an artist and create from there. Um, so uh, that's what I started with the creative ideas, and a lot of it had to do with the idea of nature inspiring this too. Um,
Mm.
so I can answer that later, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw a lot of like you playing the piano, and I also got a song from you where you say like you also composed it and recorded it and produced it and everything. So it feels like you're quite like doing the whole the whole thing indeed. So yeah, that's really cool. I'm really curious how it got to that point then as well. But like I think to fully understand how you got to what you're doing now, it would be interesting to reflect a bit back and take things back to like your childhood and when you were younger. So how do you feel that creativity and music played a role in your life when you were younger? Was there like always music around at your home, or did you discover that yeah, music was your language basically in another way?
Yes. So when I was younger, I found out like uh, my my sister was joining band in middle school, and she played the clarinet. And it was coming my time. We're 3 years apart, so I was in second or third grade when I found this out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, we go to summer for band concerts." And then as time got closer, I'd be told like, "Oh, my mom was in choir." A lot of people on my biological father's side were in music. One of them plays piano. One is in a band currently
Mm.
to this day, 20 years later. and my dad played the drums. So there's percussion, there's music, there's guitar, there's voice. And
Yeah.
my older sister, ended up in choir as well. So my journey started um, I started with percussion. The first thing I played, though, before that was actually the trumpet.
Mm,
So as I was at home, well, I love brass music, as you probably heard. There's brass in my music,
mm,
and so it started there with me like learning, and then I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm loving this as much as I should. So I one day was like, I asked my sixth grade band teacher, I was like, hey, can I try percussion? And she's like, yeah, we only have one other percussionist. Yeah, he's all by himself back there. So I started there. And so from years 6 to 12 in the school, all the way through high school and graduation, I was in percussion, and I played an assortment of instruments. So I learned how to read music at around the age of 10. I think that's the age of sixth grade here.
yeah, I was gonna
Nine or
ask. Yeah.
10. Yeah.
Mm,
9 or 10 years old is when I started reading music and playing all sorts of mallet instruments, percussive instruments like bass drum, snare drum, all these different things. And I always loved hearing the sound of everything come together,
mm,
like during performances of things like the Phantom of the Opera, or just some Christmas songs we play during concerts. And I always had a keyboard with me throughout my grades 9 through 12. So teenage years. And I also had a drum set at one time. And I had to decide, I didn't love so much the drum set, unfortunately. So not unfortunately, I was more in love with like melody. So
mm,
that's why I was like, huh. Like I love piano. I love creating melodies. I love experimenting with sounds and creating sounds. And so throughout that time, I had a keyboard with me, and I just sit at home and either learn things or just improvise and
mm,
make things up based on being in a scale, or learn my favorite songs from video game soundtracks. So things like Parasite Eve, or some Final Fantasy games, or Kingdom Hearts, or things like that.
yeah.
So very much a gamer over here, all sorts of video games. So those inspired me throughout my
It makes
years.
sense,
So
right? Like that's also
yeah,
things that at that age, like are playing a big role in your life, and then you see how they
yeah.
come together or something. But it's cool that at that age that you then, because you have this interest in music, that you pick the soundtracks out. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Did you then realize with the drums and the percussion that you missed something what you had with trumpet, but you didn't want to go back to trumpet, or how was it something else you were looking for, or do you just like to, at some point learn something new?
Think that's what it was about, because
Mm,
percussion, you have so many instruments you can choose from. And
mm,
that's what I loved about it. Like, you kind of didn't have a choice of what you played. You'd
mm,
just be told, hey, you're playing this for this piece. And you'd either get good at it, or you would not sound so good, or like have to practice more. So I really enjoy the challenge aspect of that.
mm,
So throughout the course of uh, high school, especially, and participating in like solos and ensemble with others, and learning the marimba. That was like my biggest thing. If you look up my name, like Spiral Passages, and
mm.
Juan, I don't think my name's on there, but if you look up marimba Spiral Passages, I have like a 10-minute solo on
Oh,
marimba
really?
on YouTube,
That's
and it's
cool.
from me in high school. And
Oh,
it's,
that's cool.
yeah. So
Let's
being
see if I can
there,
recognize you. Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh, it's weird to look back to
Some
see
people
how.
change a lot over that time, and
Yeah,
others don't, right? Like other people just don't seem to change anything, but sounds like
yeah.
you do.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I was yeah, I had spiky hair. I think I was wearing contacts and shorts and flip flops and things like that.
Cool.
But it's a very big difference. But going back to trumpet, I never thought of going back. The
No.
reason why is because I liked the variety that percussion offered,
Mm,
and I enjoyed competition with it, and being able to improvise with different mallets and sounds, and
yeah.
being around the environment with with the different people in the front ensemble and the pit and my friends in high school too. So yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't,
So
I
you
do
really
have a,
switched. Yeah.
yes, but I do
Yeah.
absolutely have an appreciation for like band and symphony and strings. Our hall
Yeah.
was right next to the the choir hall as well as the orchestral hall. So every time we walk by, and I'd be like, "Huh, string instruments. I love string instruments." And I would grow up with that type of music throughout my life since childhood and listening to all sorts of things, especially Björk, and
Yeah.
learning about different sounds. And I was like, oh, no wonder I like percussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And like, did you then also, because you talk about the halls being next to each other, was that where you went then for practice, or did you also like go for like a conservatory or like a music school after, or?
The band hall being where it was, where we would all practice. In the back of that would be the percussion room. And then
Mm,
to the left would be like the orchestral hall. And sometimes we would practice in there. Unfortunately, we never all played together, like the choir, the orchestra, and the band. I always
the
thought about that though, like growing up. And I was like, what would it be like if we did a symphony? Why do we do concerts individually? Like, why
Well,
aren't
that's
we?
super interesting. Like, at what age were you then at that point?
I was about 13, 14.
Yeah.
And as I got older and reached like 17, I thought about it more and more. And I was like, I wonder why we still don't do orchestra with choir, with the band, and why
Mm.
these individual concerts. And
Did you
I
think that because you saw like that all coming together somewhere else, or was it just like your um view on like, oh, this would, match together, like how would that sound? Because I find it super interesting that there is this interest or this feeling like, oh, maybe this sounds cool together. That's like composing already in your mind, right? A bit, I feel.
Yes, it was definitely creating a world for me. I think it was the exposure to the different types of music that had choir or orchestral sounds or voice. I guess I could say that came from Björk, but also some other artists as well that I would listen to. I would sit and listen to a lot of choir music or just orchestral music. And I would also attend different concerts, like the choir concerts. And I took a music theory class in high school, which I did not like. I did not like the structure of it. It didn't feel like it felt too rigid. Like, hey,
Mm.
it's not okay to write this way or be atonal, or you must
Yeah,
write this way. It was very rigid. But as a young teenager, I was always thinking to myself, what would it be like to blend these worlds together? So, yeah,
yeah,
as far back as that time, I remember thinking in my head, like, oh, I would love to make music of some sort in the future.
yeah. Did that play a role in like for you also choosing a way of creating like music yourself and adding more instruments and composing more? The fact that you say it felt too rigid, because it's something I hear from other artists, like, it's the opposite of creativity. Creative freedom, is like the opposite of being super strict. And at the same time, you have these conservatories and like traditional music education where it's super much, no, you can't do that because it's not in these rules. Is that something that also helped you explore like this direction of composing and making more yourself, so to say?
Yes.
Uh,
My mentor, I've taken lessons with him for now 3 years, and we're good friends as well. And he always talked about. Oh, he started with theory, and when he mentioned music theory, the first thing I thought was, "Oh, this is cringy." Uh, I at first also didn't really like it, and he knows
yeah,
that. And it like the reason why, though, for me is because it was something that was challenging and uncomfortable, and I had to work through that. I think us as humans, we're usually ones to kind of shy away from things that are challenging to us or things that we don't understand. And so, as he always told me, even from the beginning when I wrote my first song, Togetherness, and wrote it and released it, he told me, you can be as creative and free as you want to be, but it is important to follow the kind of theory type of rules, but you don't have to feel like you're closed in a box. It was hard
Mhm.
for me to feel the difference between the two because I kept thinking theory is a box and my imagination is out of the box. So while writing and creating my EP and other songs, it really helped to learn with him in the studio, like what does it mean to be out of the box, but also create from theory at the
Mm,
same time. So balancing both of those worlds. It was, yeah, I can go
mm.
into that later, of course.
Yeah. Do you remember like what was the thing that made you realize that theory wasn't boxing you when when it clicked, so to say? Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes. So I returned from seeing him in the summer. I spent about 3 weeks in the east in Catalonia near Spain. So he lived in a small town, and while I was with him, he would ask me about like, "Hey, do you know what kind of chord this is?" Or do you remember these parts of these notes? And I found it frustrating for me because everything kind of went away, my teachings for a moment. And then when I came back, we started again, but everything seemed to cycle back from my lessons because I had already taken lessons with him for 2 years. And as I took more notes and I started to practice more, and he started to help me piece together the puzzle of theory, and even with voicings, different intervals, playing with different chords and root notes. And he taught me, hey, you can make things very simple but very powerful, just as you're doing. And that
Mm,
really inspired me to start writing in that way. So when I wrote Beyond This, which is the fourth song in the EP, this is the one that we did not do together because we wrote the first three. I wrote the songs, like the melodies and everything. He did a lot of the arranging, and then we sat together and arranged and gave feedback. And he did the drums, and I gave feedback. So we were there the whole time. It was very collaborative, but it all started to make more sense and click when I came back and wrote Beyond This, because it felt very much like, oh, I I can I can go deep within the imagination and use theory at the same time and still
mm.
feel free, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Does it also play a role that like that you did everything yourself on that one, in that sense that it clicked maybe? Yeah, I'm just trying to see it from my own point of view. If I see something, it helps me understand how I might be able to do it. But then by doing something, things click and I understand how things work. Whether it's, I don't know, gardening in a veggie garden or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like you learn by doing, kinda. And I can imagine if
Yes.
you then did it like completely yourself, that then you understood why certain things work.
Yes. I've always been a kinesthetic learner, so I've always been a hands-on type of person when it's like I learn by doing. And I can be a visual learner, I can take notes or learn how to take a test very well by doing the test kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think the same thing goes for a lot of things I put my mind to. So actually doing it, writing it, and having it done. So even programming and writing and the drum parts for the song, I didn't use
Yeah.
any samples for it. I used what was available to me in Ableton, and I
Mm,
experimented with sounds, with different beats, and also with sound designs. My mentor taught me how to make sound designs, and so I made some from Ableton as well, like customized. So
mm,
learning these different avenues of things and putting it all together. Because at first I told him like, I don't know how to write drums. I play drums, but I have not written with them. But it's interesting what you can do when you actually start to do it. Like you
mm,
just sit with it, and you you kind of just have happy accidents and you play things back. And that was my experience, honestly, with the song. Because and then it went on, the development of the drum parts. And he also taught me how to use some kind of audio distortions and shifting the sound,
mm,
even making the bass beat make a sort of vibrational sound,
mhm,
where he showed me how to kind of condense them and make it sound from left to right. It was very interesting what he did with the mix and master. But after all of that, it felt more of like, oh, uh, this feels like second nature now. It, yeah,
Yeah, that's a good bridge. Yeah, yeah. I'm curious now that you mentioned this. Like, it must be such a different approach to music making if before you always played an instrument in sort of a continuum in time. And now you mention like, yeah, you know what, like with a digital audio workstation, if you're producing basically in a DAW, then you're indeed listening back a lot. Like, how do you feel those two different approaches to like music making?
yeah. That's great. What I think about like music making here and in a DAW is that we're able to really start to create something just from an idea. Like you can
Mm,
start from basic root notes or something that you just come up with. For me, it's mostly I resonate with melody.
mm,
And when I have a melody that's in my head, I'm like, oh, I really like that. I want to build on it. And the process will start sort of from there. And
mm,
I work on identifying now the root notes, which I'm really focusing on because I struggled with that in the past, like figuring out, hey, what are the root notes? So my mentor would tell me like, hey, write down the root notes, or let's do the chords, or so writing now feels more instead of like in the past, like kind of we're taught in schools with music. Most of them teach you how to write and not so much write. It's more of like if you go to school to study music or piano, you're taught to read and also to play a lot of
mm.
other piano music that is not your own. Well, I think
Yeah,
that's great. I think it takes away from the creative side of things. And there's a lot you're missing out on when you can learn how do you write this with the modes. And from what I've seen and heard from a lot of people that have even studied music, is that
yeah,
the modes are missing in their studies. And or I hear, oh, the modes suck. And I thought the
yeah.
same thing. So I don't blame them. But so it is very different from growing up learning about music the way I did versus now learning with the modes and intervals and learning
Yeah.
how to write in a system. But
Mm,
it's still cool to be able to read sheet music still at the same time. So it's a nice balance of things.
yeah. I think you might find I had a chat with Nathan Plant also for the channel. I don't know if you saw it already, but I think you might really like it. He is classically schooled as a trumpeter, actually,
Oh wow.
and he plays in like in an orchestra. So he studied that, and indeed, he now has his electronic music project because it gives him so much freedom in terms of improvisation and creativity that he doesn't have in the classical study side. It's exactly what you mentioned. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, to like touch on like the clarity of space and your music production, something that I feel really comes back is bit of like a topic of, you know, healing, mindfulness, reflection. I mean, the title of the EP itself, Clarity of Space, already has a certain load, the other track names as well. Um, do you feel like that project was for you also like born from a reflection or a healing phase, or what was like the little seed that started this project basically?
Absolutely. The start of it was actually just going to visit my mentor after being a week in Barcelona and having sort of a space with a really close friend of mine and having a week of like, oh, so much to see, so much to do, and so much to experience, food and all of these things. It was kind of a go, go, go. And
Mm,
here, back where I live in San Antonio in Texas, it is also sort of it can be go go go, and it feels like that in daily life. So going to the east coast of Catalonia to visit my mentor, I stayed with him longer, and we got along. This is the first time we met in
mm,
person, even though we do meetings by Zoom and would laugh and talk and all of these things. So the start over there was actually visiting a small town and slowing down for the first time in a very long time. At first,
Mm.
it felt a little bit depressing. I don't know if that's the right word for me, but it felt very slow. My mind was like in a space of like, oh, we're used to going and doing. And
Mm.
I was also experiencing grief and loss from losing my mother a year prior, and visiting my mentor and being in a small town and walking around, or going to a space in a town where I did not speak the language because they speak Catalan. And
Mm.
that also felt sort of like, oh, but this space, it feels so calming. It felt like clarity in a way. So what we did together was we played a lot of video games. So it was like stark contrast. We were playing survival horror video games like Resident Evil, because I had never played the remakes. And we're sitting there having fun and playing
He
things
was
like
like,
the
yeah, you
yeah.
have to play this.
Yes, I was like, oh, I'm playing with a brother I never had, playing video games that I'd wished I had someone to share the experience with as an adult. I don't know a lot of people where I live that enjoy video games as much as I do, or can sit and play together. And so we played some others as well, such as Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, very atmospheric cinematic games. But during this time, I had told him, like when we visited his friend, we did a jam session, and he has a duo with one of his close friends, and it's called Social Assassins. So we did a jam, and then after that, we went back to my mentor's space and we played video games again. And then I mentioned, hey, we haven't played any music. Let's go have fun. Let's go into the studio. And he's like, you're right. We really should. And we literally sat there and started talking like about just have fun. We have brass, we have woodwinds, we have the piano. And he's like, you play with those and I will create beats and we'll just jam. And so, like, the first song, Daydreaming, started that way, with just literally having fun. It was it was kind of like, for me, the title was first called Kindness Drops, but I changed it to Daydreaming because I thought to myself, Kindness Drops for me came from a video game where it's like a healing spell. But I was like, oh,
Mm.
I feel like daydreaming fits a little bit more because it's like you're dreaming of better days ahead. There's so much happening right now in the world. And
Mm.
personally, there was a lot of stuff happening in ways with being in a not a small place, a quiet town, and
Mm.
experiencing grief, missing home because I had never been away from home for like 4 weeks at a time. And literally, we started with daydreaming and creating the structure of it all and the piano parts. And he wrote in the percussion. And
Yeah.
I remember playing it back the first time, and I just started crying. And
Ah, then you know
and
you
then
did a good job, right? That's the
yeah,
essence of music and art, right? Like touching. Yeah.
for me especially, yes, I feel something all the way through the body from head to toe, and
Yeah.
I felt like a happy but melancholic sort of feel, one of like letting go. And so we would just hum it to each other and be like, "Hey, let's go listen to the song again and again and again." Like, so we would
Yeah.
return to the studio pretty often over the course of 3 days, and we started daydreaming with that, and it was pretty much complete, minus a couple of edits towards the time of release and everything for the single, and
Yeah.
that's where it started. The EP started there, having fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. I actually wanted to play that track and ask you about it, about how you explored like the emotional and the actual creating, but I think you entered that already. So I would say let's just have a listen to Daydreaming together, and then we can chat a bit after.
Sounds good.
Yeah, daydreaming. I gotta say I really love like how there is this balance between the very calm and still parts and like the more driving, oh yeah, like pretty much house parts as well. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty house music like patterns. And it's like how do you decide when you need the rhythm and when not, and when you want to open space? How do you decide that for yourself?
It was very interesting to start this because I I think for me when it came to writing those parts with at least the melodic parts, I found it interesting to like my mentor wrote all the drum parts for this song, and he
Mm,
started with the kick, just playing the kick. And even in the beginning, there was a kick present, and he took it out to give the introduction of the calm, like the
mm,
calm of the symphonic type of feel of
mm-hmm,
the woodwinds and the brass. And I think when he started the kick, he filtered it in and made it like boom, like a really good like start. And it just gave that kind of amplifying kind of feeling to the whole thing. Like, and a lot of people that had to listen to my previous releases, they were more ambient instrumental pieces. And when people heard the opening, a lot of feedback I heard was, "Oh, I didn't expect the beat drop or the beats to come in as they did, but they loved it." And what I found to be interesting with this was being able to figure out, okay, what parts do we want to be a little bit calmer, and what parts do we want there to be a high energy, or even a space to breathe. And
mm,
I feel like that's sort of like what we feel during calm and part of letting go. And the ending is more of that kind of experience of kind of like reflection with the main melody, but with a
mm,
different type of frequency with the sound and a different instrument used. So kind of like taking a deep breath and exhaling over and over. I think that's how we sort of approached how to build the beat with this song. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, and I read that you described the EP as like a navigation of multiple spaces,
Yes.
right? With like the grounding presence, the infinite space of wonder,
Yeah.
and then the metaphysical gateway, if I understood it right.
Yeah.
H- How how does this song fit into those spaces? And yeah, maybe then you can tell how you came up with the concept of those spaces.
So the EP was done by my friend. Well, he is now my friend, which is great. Stefan. He did my EP, or not my EP, my single cover art for Connection and Displacement. And if you look at it, you'll see a silhouette there, and it's in a dark space. The song was more about navigating grief and acceptance of loss. And what helped me to really think about, okay, what is space? What are these different aspects of it? Well, part of it was nature. So I had asked him during a Zoom call when we met, and I conceptualized this idea of, hey, I want to use the silhouette again, but this time I wanted to be floating midair with the grounding presence of nature below, the unit
Mm,
like the planetary kind of solar system above, so some planets above, and also a portal into the unknown, into a metaphysical realm of another dimension. So, in this kind of space with birds like kind of guiding the silhouette into the unknown, but also
mm,
the exploration of all of this. Um, it felt like sort of like, oh, there's so much wonder, and with the acceptance of what is as we venture forward in our lives. And so that was a big thing that happened for me when it came to, okay, I'd love for this to be a more of a happy and optimistic kind of healing out EP versus the sad kind of versions of the other ones that were more deep and melancholic. So
wow.
um, yeah, and somehow it transformed into the visual that it is today. Yeah.
So you went into this creation session very much with like a mission to um like cope in a constructive way then? Do I get that right or
Yes. So even being there with my mentor and being in the studio for the first song, it was kind of intentional just to have fun, kind of a let go type of thing. So there was really no agenda in the first song for Daydreaming. Like we didn't
Mm.
intentionally at first write it. It just came to be and we were like, wow, play that back again and again. Oh, I really like that. Okay. And then the tears came. 'Cause
Yeah. And then you know you
because
have to do something with it.
yes, and that's how I feel with the music is when I experience that kind of depth, or if I cry or have an emotional resonance to it, that's when I feel like I'm in a space like, okay, I want to do something with this. This
Yeah.
is it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. And I also hear you say like the grounding nature reflection space basically was there before. And as you can imagine, I'm quite interested in like the nature aspect of it. Also seen like the cause of the platforming and stuff. So I see that you quite often like post imagery of nature.
Yeah.
You talk about how it like grounds you. And, you know, I think I saw some Instagram posts about, you know, a tree and how that, you know, grounds you, and you talk about it, you show the imagery. Do you like, was it always part of it, or do you remember when the nature aspect started to like find a way into your work in form of inspiration, or that you also wanted to incorporate it? Or yeah, do you remember when that started?
So as for that, I with nature, I mean, since I was a child, I always loved nature and tall trees. And I always like to be at the base of them and look up into the sky.
Mm.
As a kid, there was this giant tree next to the house I lived in with family, and I always loved like seeing it. And so, when I posted the first teaser of Daydreaming, I thought to myself, you know, I want something that fits the idea of like nature being part of this because it was part of my experience of even writing it. My mentor and I would go for walks and hike and see some spaces that were pretty calm and away from the noise of urban life. So being able to do that also in a way kind of articulated itself as like, hey, nature belongs in this EP in some sort of way. And I've always found music to be that for me, a way for grounding. But actually being in the presence of nature also just kind of amplified that experience. I don't listen to music when I go out into nature. I like to be in the quiet. But
Mm.
what through some of the videos that I posted throughout some travels throughout the past 2 years, 3 years now, 2 years, yeah.
Time
I
flies when you're
found
traveling.
yes, yes, I found it very fitting to even amplify the message that's put forth within the music. And I was like, oh, these concepts work. Even though
Mm.
initially writing the music, it didn't, I didn't think of those things so much at the start. It was more of, let's start with the music. Let's have fun. Let's build something. And that's what we started to do. Yeah.
Mm. That's really cool. Yeah. I also feel like you really feel like you just mentioned that about the artwork, that you see these different faces and like layers in. Um, and I also feel that like back in the music that you have these textures that are quite like, some of the textures and some of the drums and rhythms are quite down to earth or sound a bit familiar. And they are like kind of grounding in that sense, but then you have the melodies, and I'm a lover for like ear candy and like hidden, you know, harmonies and stuff, and you hear that a
Mm.
lot, and that like really resonates for me, like the infinite space of, you know, looking skyward, as you say it, from the ground up. So yeah, that's really cool that you hear that back. I think, yeah, yeah. So when you sit down then to create, like you just explained how it went for one of the tracks, but usually if you start working on it, do you then start with the piano, or do you have a certain approach that you try first, or is that different for all the songs?
What was interesting with the and by the way, I love like your how it resonated for you, the music, the infinite
Mm,
possibilities with melodies. I just wanted to say I love like hearing people's feedback and what they experience from it. Like
mm,
so that's awesome to hear. I'm glad that because I'm the same way. I always look at inner harmonies of music and that made its way into year 2. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Uh, and so as for starting like with songs, when I was with my mentor, I thought to myself, I think I even asked him like, "Hey, how do you start with writing your music?" He's like, "Well, I start with piano." And I'm like, "That makes a lot of sense because we use a lot of piano in our lessons for theory or even sound design." So he's like, "Okay, well, start with piano and write you can create chords that way using modes." And so what we did with the second song, it leads into that actually. I was in a sense of frustration while writing The Clarity of Space initially because I had like 15 melodic ideas. And
Mm.
it's funny because he would walk in and out of the studio and he'd be like, "Hey, Juan, commit. Like you have 15
Every
ideas
time he came
and
back, you had a new idea.
yeah,
Like,
a new idea." And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Okay, okay, I need you to get out of the room. Like, I need space so I can write this." So it was kind of funny because he would come back and he smokes, so he'd come back and be like, "Okay, what do you have?" Like, and I'd show him like, "Hey, I this is an idea I had," and he'd be like, "I like that a lot." Okay, so then from there, choosing having it on piano, I then have learned how to like, what kind of sound do I want this to have? So choosing, there's an infinite possibility with sounds now. So being able to decide from that or turning a sound design or a field recording into an instrument or a sample into an instrument, whatever you'd like. It was really cool to build those sounds from scratch with him.
mm,
And he taught me how to do that there as well. And it was really cool to start there. It made things
mm.
simpler. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is the piano often that like
Yes.
feels like a logic plays. Is it also because you played the piano already that it's like your instrument where you can put feeling in and then you can put other instruments over it with skill, technically. Yeah.
Yes. It's more
Yeah.
the foundational for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I recognize that I played guitar a lot and then I switched to electronic music and I still feel that grabbing a guitar and improvising there works better because I played more with intuition and feeling rather than technically having to think about it. And then that can make a foundation, as you say. And then you can build on top of that with insights or skill or technology or whatever. Uh, cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of like a home instrument type of thing. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just what plays automatically. Yeah. I'm curious. I want to listen to another song, which is beyond this because you mentioned it like that it was kind of special for you because you produced it and composed it and did everything around it like yourself. I feel by what you just said that your earlier work was more ambient. I heard that a bit in Togetherness. Togetherness, I think,
Yeah.
was it the first one? Yeah, I heard they're more like the ambient. That the ambient was more present there. Um, and I was curious, like yeah, how this process of doing everything yourself now was, and if there were like any challenges that you ran into, since you mentioned that you had help with certain parts before. Um, but I think it's a very interesting learning experience. I'm curious, what challenges did you run into for that one?
So initially, I even when I started this song idea, like there were about two or three contenders for like, okay, what am I going to write next? And do I want one more song on the EP or two?
Mm,
And I had a really good melodic idea that I had, and I still have, and I might make it into a song in the future. But this one was like, okay, uh, I I want something to be more otherworldly, space-like, kind of another type of dimension, and
mm,
very experimental with like the drum sounds. And my first kind of barrier in my head was I haven't written for drums. I can't do that. Uh,
ah,
and I thought to myself, like, well, I mean, I need to try. So literally during a lesson, I created like an idea for a beat, and what fits so well into it was the sound design type of work that I was doing with my mentor during that previous lesson. He's like, you could do this in your song. And I was like, okay, let's try it out. And so the drums, the programming all of that in was the first kind of like barrier to break through, one of the first.
Mm,
And deciding on chords, like how do I want this to open? Do I want it to be slower or faster? And the melodic stuff sort of came very naturally. It was deciding on the sounds that I wanted to incorporate there. That was really nice to. That was pretty much second nature. So I'd say the first thing with being on my own was okay. What do I want this to be? And sort of figuring out okay, arranging this. And at first I thought to myself like, oh, I we arranged it together before the other three tracks, and this one I
mm,
was like, okay, I'm doing it on my own in a way. But I sat in my studio and I thought to myself, okay, let's play things back and see, hey, what comes to mind when I want to transition something into a part B or part C or blend things together, which
mm,
happens in this song. And that was so I would say the drum parts and the arrangement were the things that stood out for me as challenging. And then deciding on okay, what do I want part B to sound like? And
mm,
yeah, writing out some a chord substitution in there with my mentor during a lesson. He's like, well, here's an idea you can experiment with. And I did it. And then I was like, I want to write that in. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So
mm,
that's how that came to be. And then the ending was something that it kind of came naturally
mm,
because of the I wanted to return kind of home to the start with the woodwinds and the brass coming back just as in Daydreaming. I didn't want them to fully go away. So,
mm.
yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah. Too.
yeah,
Sounds quite deep if you say like it's something that I didn't want to go away, considering, well, how you approach the EP. That's like, yeah, for me, that sounds like quite, yeah. How do you say that? Like a load on it. Yeah. Quite a
yeah.
conscious decision. Yeah.
It sure was. It was like something when you're going somewhere and your travels, and it's something you want to take with you,
Mm,
and it's something of importance to you. And I really wanted that to continue on with the rest of the song itself.
yeah.
Because this song is about going through the portal and accepting and exploring the unknown. So that was like the big thing that happened afterwards because I was exploring the unknown while I was writing this.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what made it actually pretty fun instead of thinking to myself, like, oh, the unknown is bad. It's scary. You shouldn't go there. Like, no.
Hmm.
So instead, it kind of it fit very well with the concept of the EP itself and the
Yeah.
going into a portal that you don't know where it's going to take you.
But it's for better. Yeah. For growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Did you take anything away from like going through the portal and, you know, still going through these challenges, basically? What did you take away from those things?
Definitely to sit down with the thing that is challenging for you. For me, I definitely thought to myself after writing the song and playing it back with my mentor, I thought to he's like, "This is the song. This is it. This is great." And well, number one, it's I know it's cliche to say, but it's easy for us to doubt ourselves, and if we're wanting to work through a challenge, and we think to ourselves, "I can't." I think it's important for us to try. And by sitting and doing, we can do more things than our mind will tell us. I work as a therapist, so I work with people that can struggle with the anxiety of the human condition. And I think it's very human for our brain to protect us from the unknown. And so I would say, hey, the unknown is worth exploring. You never know what you can find if you start to experiment with what you have at your disposal, something completely new. So sitting here and trying to have courage and belief in yourself, even if it's just a little bit, it can create more momentum as you start to write more. And that was my experience with it too. I found it to be very relieving at the end, because at first, initially starting it, it was kind of like, what the hell do I do? Like,
What am I doing?
what am I doing? Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's okay, because I've heard this from various artists, is like, hey, have fun, make mistakes,
yeah,
and allow yourself to explore what's unknown. Don't even judge it. And then analyze it later. And my mentor taught me that too. He tells me that, but I read that from a lot of articles of other artists, of their creative process. So
yeah,
I would say, like, definitely when you're exploring new things, have fun with it, make the mistakes, be bad at it intentionally. It's okay, because nobody starts off really as like, oh, I know how to do this, like right off the bat, something brand new.
yeah.
So approaching it with that kind of courage and will really helps to break through the barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm I would say let's just have a listen to Beyond This, I would say. Um but before we do that, I'm also curious how it connects to the like nature part um in your work. If you have a moment, like is there a part in the song that we can like keep an eye or ear out for that you connect with a nature moment, so to say?
Yeah. So I would say, well, the beginning is definitely like transporting through. This one is more like spatial, the song itself, but the grounding part is the transition between part B, at the end of part B to the end of the song, which is where the chords from the opening of the song come back again, and it's kind of
Mm,
like a very kind of grounding presence there, bum 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 bum, and you hear that again. It's very apparent in the opening. And as it transitions there, that's where I thought of like, oh, it's kind of like the wander of space, but also nature in a 360 kind of view. It takes me back to that tree and looking
mm,
all the way up and seeing the sky. Yeah.
cool. Let's have a listen and see if
Okay.
people hear that back in it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I think, yeah, I think it worked out pretty well, right? For first time drums programming and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I really like this. It sounds a bit like a rasp, which is it sounds a bit like a shortened and reversed like kick drum or something. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
it's quite interesting sound.
The sh
Yeah,
uh, so,
yeah.
my, mentor taught me a sound design trick with, audio on how to turn, a programmed, MIDI track of drums into
Mhm,
audio and then reverse it. So,
mhm.
that happens about 4 times in the end. He's like, "It's kind of a glitchier sound," and I'm like, "Oh, I love it." He's like, "Well, let's give it an excuse to try it," and he taught me how to do it, and I did it and inserted it, and he's like, "Ah, okay. Yeah, yeah."
Yeah, I like this mentor.
Yeah, he's really
Sounds
cool.
like a great guy. Yeah, yeah. I'm curious now that like the clarity of space is out in the world. What's next for you? Like, are there new pieces that are already like shaping up, or ideas, or things that are resonating, or are you taking it chill for a bit, or how is that looking for you?
Lately, I've been taking it a little bit more chill since marketing and promoting the EP.
Mm,
But I have been working on some collaborations with other
mm,
artists and musicians that I've met through Instagram. So that's been nice. Um, as for right now, the ideas of like what's next definitely are on my mind, and I think within the coming week or so, I will start sitting down and have fun and come up with some ideas that I want to play with and going
mhm,
from there. But yeah,
mm.
I mean, I'm
Cool.
excited to see what's next, either an EP or a single or just working towards an album. Yeah.
Mhm. It's cool to hear that like Instagram in that sense is also like not only a place where you share your music, but also a place where you find inspiration and collaborators for your new music. Basically, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, how do you like find your people or people to work together with on the channels there?
What's really cool is I it considering like everything that's happening in the world today, it's really nice to be able to log in into my music page and connect with other artists, other musicians, singers, songwriters, maybe guitarists,
Mm,
and it just being able to literally like go in and message or comment on somebody's music, and somebody might say something like, "Oh, I'd love to collaborate," or I'll reach out and say like, "Hey, I really like your guitar, or I really like the song that you posted that's not finished, and that you had mentioned, and I would love to work on that with you. What do you think?" And it's kind of just asking the question of, "Hey, what are your thoughts? I'd love to work with you." And from there, people can either say a yes or a no. But it's kind of saying like, "Oh, this resonates with me." Maybe the lyrics, maybe the voice, maybe the instrument that they play, and being like, "Oh, I'd love to add to that and work on that together." And it's really nice to have that as like
and how
an
do you
option in
find
the world.
people in that sense, like in the direction that you're hoping for? Because the reacting is one, but like finding the people, like how do you search for a certain hashtag, or do you go on pages of like people you like and see if they have any people that they know that like music, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, so since starting with like originally when I started following more people, other musicians, a friend told me, he's like, if you want to connect with musicians here, it's good to like just search or check out their followers or who they're following. So that's my experience of like, oh, let me check out who they're following and what do
Mm,
they create. And it's nice because actually speaking with or even connecting with people there, if you like their content, you can stumble upon other people that sound like them, or because Instagram has its algorithms. And sometimes
Mm.
the new people I follow, they will share their story of a person that they are checking out. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Okay, let me follow them too. Or let me check them out and give them a shout out, a comment, or a share, or message them directly. So it kind of becomes more organic in that way, where it's kind of like we're all in passenger trains here. And we're like, oh, waving hello to one another. And sometimes we say hello. Sometimes the other person says hello back. And that's how it's really nice to stumble upon what friends or people that you follow share, and being like, oh, let's check that out. Let's check them out. I
Yeah.
mean, that's my experience, and it's been nice.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's interesting for people to like know, like you're doing it with music, but I find it cool to ask you that because I think social media has multiple sides, obviously. And I think whatever people find interesting or nice to find on, social media, if there's a way that it works for you with finding other musicians, to have like nice and, meeting new people experiences on the platform, it might work for others with whatever they're doing as well that way. So that's why I thought it might be nice for people to know. Um, yeah, if there were no limits like around your future, around your music career, wherever that may go, how would you at this moment love it to look in like 5 years from now? It probably will turn out very different, obviously, but it's interesting to know how you look up to that now. Yeah.
So there are different goals. I'd love to compose video game music, or film music, but also I'd love to tour and work and collaborate with other artists, either visual artists or live acts, singer songwriters type of thing, and have visuals going with all of it too. Um,
Cool.
I look to like the likes of Odessa as like an kind of a or even seeing Bjork or other artists, and seeing how a lot of people are doing this in their touring acts. I'd love to experience that. Um, yeah, so
Cool.
there are definitely goals there, and I think starting the process of just connecting with people and talking to them, and reaching out, it really helps to create more, and to feel like more connected in the world of art, instead of feeling alone. So yeah, those are my
Mm,
some of my goals.
cool. We're looking forward to that as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
To slowly head towards an end and round things up, I'm curious for a reflection and an insight. I'll start with the reflection, and that is what has been the most meaningful moment for you since releasing the EP. Is it like a message from a listener, maybe a realization or an insight, or like whatever that might be, but that happened after releasing the EP until now?
Yeah. Um, I've had a lot of random messages from different people, which I really like. I always appreciate that, because people will give their feedback and say, "Oh, I really enjoy this song or this one." And what really something after reflection, it's like, okay, it's really nice to know that what's resonating with me is resonating with other people, and they have something that they want to hold on to, and something that helps them to heal or feel better in their day. And that's all my goal is with the music, is like somebody to experience that in some sort of way. And they're like, oh, I've had a stressful day, and I listened to this song today, and that really calmed me. Or having the
Yeah.
Bandcamp listening party that I had when they released, and hearing the feedback from people and saying like, I love this part, or they give feedback or talk about it, and hearing things afterwards of like what people took away from it. And so yeah, it's been nice to experience the storytelling behind it, and also just be able to see from that people are wanting to share the art that I am putting out there. So even if it's a couple of people, it doesn't matter to me really. It's the impact I want to make is that music really speaks to people, the music I make
Mm.
speaks to people, and I think that's one of the best things. Everything else is kind of a side effect. Yeah,
Mm. It's nice that it's a therapy for yourself, but
yeah,
on
it's
top of
self
that,
therapy.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
And honestly, like I think what you're saying there is, I cannot imagine much more of a valuable thing to hear back on your music, especially in times where it's, it people can consider it as an effort. It's an effort if people, take the time to write you about it and
Yeah.
genuinely tell you what it does with them instead of just double tapping and moving on, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
so I
Yeah.
think that's a great compliment. But besides it being a compliment, I can also imagine that it must be a very nice feeling to feel that you were able to transfer a feeling over, and that someone understands what you're trying to tell in a language that's not with words, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
Agree.
it's really cool. Um, to end off with an insight or a tip, I'm curious if you have like one tip or insight that you can share with everyone listening. Something easy that basically everyone can do to reduce their footprint or reconnect with nature.
Reconnecting with nature and reducing footprint. Two very important things. I would definitely say to use your body more when you can, even if it's so simply as walking to throw away any kind of trash or to recycle. That's a big thing for me. Is I see people. I live in the United States, so a lot of people they have a lot of convenience here, and a lot of people are not so used to walking. And I think to myself, like, hey, if there's a way for you to not get in your car or turn on an engine, or if you can reduce your AC in some sort of way, and be okay still, I would highly recommend that because not only are you adjusting your body, you're
Mm,
also reducing the impact on the earth, and you're by moving your body more and being more mobile. And as we age, that's so, so important. I'd say that's definitely um, something that to be intentional about physical movement. As for connecting with nature, I'd absolutely recommend like scheduling yourself to go out to hike somewhere you've never been at least once a month. If you want to go
mm,
with friends or whatnot, and don't listen to music while you do it. Just listen to the sound of what nature offers you.
yeah, nature makes its own music already to listen and to enjoy. Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. And yeah, for anyone watching or listening, you can support Juan's work by grabbing the Clarity of Space EP on Bandcamp. And the link for that is in the description. It massively supports him directly. And as you can hear, he's a very green hearted artist. So it will help the world as well to get his music heard. And yeah, if you enjoyed the conversation, then please subscribe or follow wherever you're watching or listening, because we do restore 1 square meter of ecosystem for every follower on all channels. So yeah, it's one tap or mouse click and you literally help heal the earth. And with that being said, we cannot leave without playing the title track of The Clarity of Space, called The Clarity of Space. So we're going to say goodbye. Thank you so much, Juan, for being here and being so open and sharing your, thoughts and insights behind things. I think I really enjoyed it. I hope you did. And I hope the people
Absolutely.
watching or listening as well. So yeah, we're going to say goodbye. And then after that, we'll play The Clarity of Space. Thank you so much.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really glad to be here and talk to you about all of
Yeah,
this.
thank you.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day to speak with me. It means a lot to me. So,
No, thank you for taking the time out of your day. So, no, thank you so much. It was really,
thank you.
really
Thank you.
nice. Thanks. Bye bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.